Professor Rainer Reisner at the University of Tübingen in Germany notes the remarkable capacity for memorization among Jesus' people.
Copies of Old Testament books were very expensive in New Testament times. Only very rich people could buy them. For the ordinary people, the books of the Old Testament were found only in the synagogues. So if someone liked to practice the Old Testament in daily life, he had to learn passages of the Old Testament by heart. The first followers of Jesus were pious Jews. They were used to memorize large portions of text. Jesus himself acted as a Jewish teacher, and this meant that he summarized important points of his teaching in short, very well formulated, memorizable sentences. These sentences he could also formulate with poetic devices, for example in parallelisms. To give one example, Jesus said, "For whoever would save his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake will find it." This sentence can be memorized after one hearing. But most of his teaching summaries Jesus repeated at different occasions and in front of different audiences. So those disciples accompanying him all the time could hear these teaching summaries and memorize them very well.
Even in our own day, some consider it not a great feat to commit a whole gospel to memory.
And he began again to teach by the seaside.
Actor Alec McCowan held audiences spellbound in his one-man stage play that consisted of nothing more than a recitation of the Gospel of Mark. He goes on for a couple of hours. Word for word, the entire Gospel is recalled and repeated.
And said unto them in his doctrine, hearken. Behold, there went out a sower to sow, and it came to pass as he sowed, some fell by the wayside, and the fowls of the air came and devoured it up. And some fell on stony ground where it had not much earth, and immediately it sprang up, because it had no depth of earth, but when the sun was up it was scorched, and because it had no root it withered away.
And we might also consider that Matthew, one of Jesus' closest followers, probably would have known a form of shorthand.
Matthew probably knew shorthand. There are several reasons for this statement, for this assessment of the situation. He was, as we know, a civil servant, a tax collecting official in Upper Galilee. And in this position, a certain degree of shorthand writing was absolutely obligatory. Now, we also know from contemporary evidence, parchments and other indications from historical writings, that shorthand writing was a known technique among Jews and Greek-speaking Jews and Romans of that period.